Hello everyone, this is Locko S, and in today's video we're going to be covering night lighting in the Mirage 2000C, both interior and exterior, as well as also go over the use of night vision goggles. So, first thing to note with the Mirage 2000C is that in order to get the night lighting on, you have to obviously turn on the battery. Now, while I'm here, I should also mention that we are on the Persian Gulf map, and I placed the aircraft in a cold start position next to this floodlight, just so that we have a little bit of visibility into the aircraft at mission at start. Plus, the YouTube algorithm really doesn't like it when the aircraft or even the video in general is relatively dark. Turns everything into a giant fuzz, and that makes it harder for you guys to see what I'm doing. So, hence, you can do this start when it's even pitch black by going to left, alt, and L. That brings up a flashlight. And every single module, I believe, does have a keybind to get you a flashlight. It might not be alt. It might not be left, alt, and L, but usually it's some combination of a modifier key and L brings up a flashlight. And you can use this even in pitch black to actually see what you're doing and activate all the switches. So, thankfully, the battery switch is pretty prominent right there, and it's bright red, so you should be able to see it even when it's fairly dark. Notice, however, if we only have the battery switch enabled, we could only turn on the green floodlights. So this small knob that I'm moving right now are the red backlighting to all the switches. However, if you can just see the corner of the screen, we are now turning on the green floodlights for the instrument panel, and now over here on the console light knob, we are now turning on the green floodlights for the console or the sidewalls. So we don't have backlighting with only battery power enabled. We only have backlighting. So we only have floodlighting. We do not have backlighting. I'm going to turn off the instrument panel here for a bit because there's another set of lights for the instrument panel. We have white floodlights right here, and you can see that's super bright. So we're going to go ahead and zoom out a bit, and there we go. So there's a lot of the lighting at night for the Mirage 2000C. You mostly want to stick to that's interesting. That actually went out too. You mostly want to stick to that's why. Oh, never mind. You just want to stick to like dim lights. You don't want to go super. You don't want to like turn these all the way up because then you'll start blinding yourself. So let's see here. Interesting. Anyways, it's possible that we drain the battery by quite a bit, and that's okay. That might happen sometimes if you are turning on switches like I was. To recharge the battery, A, or B, to make sure you're not draining the battery in the first place, you can go ahead to F8, ground electrical power, and turn on ground power.
Chief, turn on the ground power.
Copy. Ground power is now on.
There we go. Now we have ground power, so everything is turning on. Ground power also treats it like the alternators are running, and the aircraft is started up. So now we can go ahead and showcase what aircraft lighting we have available once we have full power to the aircraft, either through turning on the engines or connecting to ground power. So we have our backlight. So again, we have our white floodlight up there. We have our green floodlight up there. And then we also have our console and instrument panel backlighting in red. Now, I would recommend for startup to don't worry about necessarily having the UV lights. Just leave the backlighting off and just using the green floodlighting. That way you're able to see more of the switches. The backlighting doesn't cover everything. So you'll be missing so you'll be sometimes be having a hard time to find certain switches with just the red lighting. So I like using the green floodlights for startup, and then once you have the aircraft started, primarily switching over to the red lighting. But you can have both as indicated here. Alright, so that covers pretty much everything here, except for this little panel light here. This is the caution advisories light rheostat, and this changes the light on certain areas of the aircraft. We're gonna go ahead and turn on the radio because it actually affects that as well. So turn off the floodlights to show you this in full effect. So there is the look at the caution in it. Zoom out actually so you can see everything. So there's the dark, there's the bright. So this rheostat changes the brightness of everything indicated. So caution advisory panel, your fuel flow rate, weapons panels down here on the left and right hand side, your radio repeater indicator up there, as well as your some of your mechanical control surfaces indicators down here, and your radio brightness. So obviously for flying at night, we don't need it to be super bright because we'll blind ourselves. There we go. That's good. Turn on the instrument panel lighting midway. I like turning it up to 50% at night because it's a good balance between having enough light to do stuff versus being flooded out. In fact, 40 and 30% is the sweet spot for me. There we go. All right. Other things to note now before we get into the exterior of the aircraft. Just turning on IFF while I'm down there because I'm going to go over to the radar, turn that on, and go over to the HUD power switch to turn this on. As you can see, because we're not aligning the aircraft, there really isn't much to see on the HUD, so we're going to go ahead and quickly throw the aircraft into alignment. And we'll go over the HUD before we take off. So, the radar here, you obviously can use these switches here to adjust different elements of the radar brightness. However, the most important one for general lighting is this second switch here from the left-hand side, and that's the main brightness. You can turn it all the way up to 7. But as again with a lot of other HUD elements and the like, if you turn it up too bright, you'll get this bloom effect, and it gets really annoying. So I'd leave it around between somewhere between 4 and 1. So leave it at 2, like where it would initially powered up at, and that looks pretty good. Let's see over here, anything else? Nope, I can't think of anything else over there. We will cover NVGs over here towards the end of the video. Moving over here on this side of the panel, we have police lights. Police lights are... Well, the police light, rather, because there's only one, is this light right here. It doesn't really have an effect as far as I can tell. It doesn't turn on and off from at least the external model. In order for the police light to work, you have to basically fly below and to the right of an aircraft, and then the police light will shine onto the aircraft, and you use it for air policing operations where you fly up to the aircraft on that, again, the lower right-hand side, and then you look and use the police light to shine onto the aircraft to identify tail numbers and the like. Down here, we have our landing light switch. It was off before. Now we can see it's on taxi, and we can put it up to landing. So landing, as you can see, is a bit brighter and wider, and then taxi is a little bit dimmer and a little bit narrower. And your taxi lights are on the are on the main nose wheel strut right here. Leave them on if you're on multiplayer servers. Just leave them on taxi while you're on the ground, and then only use landing whenever you're coming in for landing. That way you're not blinding other players. So we're just going to practice that good behavior for online servers and leave this in the taxi position. Another good thing to note, and this is something that you should technically do on all your startups, is put the anti-collision light switch on the ground during startup to high or to low. The anti-collision light is this flashing light up here on the spine of the aircraft. And this is obviously anti-collision to warn people, hey, I'm an aircraft here. It grabs people's attention and it lets them know that you are there. That is used for ground ops even during the day to let ground crew and other people know that you are there and that your aircraft is active and powered on. So, because we're operating at night, we don't need to put it on high. We'll just put it on low. I would say once your aircraft becomes airborne, or even while you are about ready to take the active runway, you can slap it into the off position. Technically, depending on civil aviation rules and the area and the like, you could have this on, but you don't want, considering how in most of the time in DCS world you're going straight into combat operations, leave this off. It's a very bright and noticeable light, and you don't want to give your enemy's position away because you let this in the on position. Now, other lights that you do want to have on while flying around at night are your nav lights. Your nav lights are this red light on the left-hand side wing, the green light on the right-hand side wing, and a white light here on the tail. This is used to showcase if your aircraft is coming or going and where it is. So not only does it say, hey, the aircraft is here, and my left wing is out here, my right wing is out here, you can use it knowing that red is on the left-hand side or the port side, and green is on the starboard or right-hand side, to know where the aircraft is heading. So, as you can see, we are staring down the engine, so the aircraft is flying away from us, and the green light is on the right-hand side. Moreover, also you have the white tail light. If you see a red light but no green light, then you know the aircraft is moving from right to left. Up ahead, if you see a green light and a red light, if you see a red light on the right-hand side, then you know the aircraft is heading towards you. Likewise, if you see the green on the left-hand side, you know the aircraft is moving towards you. And if you see a green light, but not a white light, then you know that the aircraft is moving from left to right. Also, this is the dim position, and just showcasing that this is the bright position, and you can see it's a little bit brighter on the ground. Hopefully the alignment is... I'm doing a full alignment. Okay, that's fine. That's fine, that'll work. Formation lights are these... What I could describe as a glow stick green. You really can't see it here while it's while the aircraft is being illuminated by the floodlights, but over on this side, you can see these dimish glow stick green lights here on the nose, the engine, the tail, and the vertical stabilizer and the rear end of the aircraft. Those are showcasing like, hey, this is where the aircraft is. A bit more of like gives a bit more indication of where the aircraft is physically compared to the body. So you can use these formation lights to fly in formation at night with your fellow aircraft, as well as also give a little bit more light indication of where other aircraft are in the sky. So while you are flying around in the while you're flying around in like the non-combat area, flying to and from the combat zone, go ahead and turn on navigation and formation lights. Not only does it make you look cool flying at night, it'll allow other players in multiplayer servers to know that you are indeed there, and so that way they don't collide with you either while formation flying or just general air traffic. While you're in the combat area, make sure to have collision and navigation lights off, and you want to set your formation lights to either low or off. That way, the enemy won't pick you up as easily. I know for a fact it is modeled in DCS that if you have your exterior lights set to bright and on over a combat area, it is very likely that they'll pick you up. Formation lights are... I don't know if formation lights should be dim enough that they don't pick you up, but if you want to be extra cautious, just turn off all your lights once you're in the combat area. Let's go ahead and get the radar on standby and warmed up. as we cover now NVGs. Before we do that, there we go. Get all of our lights up and going. Seal the cockpit up. There we go. Alright, and there we go. Our alignment is complete. That was thankfully fast. Go ahead to throw into nav and that. Alright, so before we get to the NVGs, because our alignment is now complete, we can talk about the HUD. HUD brightness is over here on the left-hand side. It's our little rotary wheel, and you can see we're making it dimmer and brighter. Obviously, if you put to max brightness, you'll get some bloom, which you don't want, so turn it until the bloom goes away, and it's a little bit dark. There we go. Let's see here. Also, just a general note for night flying, because we're talking about all of the night lighting. Make sure you have your radar altimeter on. It's kind of the radar altimeter will save your butt in the middle of the night if things get too dark on the outside world. So you can set your radar altimeter down here. As you can see, that's going to be your radar altimeter setting right there. So we'll go ahead and set it to 500 feet. Put it into rad for use for the that way it could give you a indication of radar altimeter when it's within range. Radar altimeter is on. That's all good. All right. Let's throw some of these switches on while I'm thinking about it. All right. So this switch down here switches the light filters in between night and NVG mode. So currently this is normal. And then this is your NVGs. As you can see, it does nothing here yet because this only affects certain lights. So we're going to go ahead and turn all the lights a little bit brighter. And I'll show you. So we have the backlighting on now. And when you flip the switch from N to NVG, you can see that the backlighting goes away. And I'll show you why that's important later on. But we're going to go ahead and just turn off the console lights. And turn off all the console lights. And see NVGs turn off. It's a quick way to turn off the instrument panel backlighting. You'll see why that becomes important in a little bit. Oh. Did a little bit of a boo-boo. See this here? You can't, you obviously won't be able to get the NVGs here if you have the cockpit closed. So we're going to go ahead into the communication menu. Go to F8, F5 for helmet mount to change helmet mounted display, or helmet mounted device, and go to load NVGs.
Copy. NVG installed.
All right, now that he actually popped the NVG bag into the cockpit, now we can seal up the cockpit. So once this bag is here, now we can actually stow and unstow the NVG from its little carrying case right here. So left click, and the NVGs get unstowed from the bag and popped into this little holder, bracket holder here on the left side of the canopy frame down here. So now up here, we can unmount the NVG on the helmet. So we're going to left click here. And now the NVGs are mounted on the helmet. So now we can finally use the NVGs. Now, you're going to have to use controls for the NVGs. So while I get the electrical system test going, we're going to go to adjust controls. And I set up the NVGs with separate keys. So it gives you like right alt home, left shift, and these are all unbound. So you're gonna have to set up controls. I use the N key for the night vision goggles for toggling them on and off. The NVG lights filter is left alt and N. However, this is a momentary switch where if you click it, and hold it, it'll activate the NVG switch to turn off the interior the backlighting. However, as soon as you release left alt and N, the interior lighting will pop back on. And then if you want to increase or decrease the gain of the NVGs, I have them set up here. So you're definitely going to want to have everything set up with your own control bindings for NVG use if you want to use your NVGs. Now, granted, I like to use the N key because it's currently unbound. It is by default unbound to anything for the Mirage 2000C. Plus, it's easy to remember. N for NVGs, and then use left control shift alt to do the to other modes. That way, I know everything with the NVGs is N plus a modifier key. So, with the NVGs mounted, click the N key, and there's our NVG monocle right there. As you can see, staring at something bright kind of blows out the NVGs. So there's not really a whole lot of point to doing it here while the aircraft is on the ground in a relatively bright area. So we're going to get airborne and showcase it there. So there we go, left click. There we go. Good ignition. Tell the ground crew to remove wheel chocks.
Chief, remove the wheel chocks. Chief, turn off the ground power.
Wheel chocks are now removed.
Alright, we have our
Unable to comply.
No, stop your plane. Oh, by the way, if you need to stop your plane without the wheel chocks removed, there we go. Our parking brake is on.
Chief, turn off the ground power.
Turn off ground power.
Copy. Ground power is now off.
So the plane doesn't yell at me during mid-flight. I'll do a quick hydraulics test here and go over NVGs. We'll look at the night sky and do this. So, enter turn on NVGs. So, if you want to, this is increasing the gain and decreasing the gain. Now, you want to get as low of a gain as possible, while you can still see the surrounding area, because as you can see with the NVGs, it's only this upper middle circle that is actually affected by the NVG illumination, and everything outside of this circle here is quote-unquote normal, so you can easily, while flying around the NVG at night using cockpits, if you need to, just set your center of vision off to the side, and then look down and off to the side to actually look at your instruments. So, for instance, if I need to know my altitude on the instrument panel for whatever reason, I would look to the side of the aircraft, and then look down here to get my altitude, my speed, vertical velocity, all that good stuff. Okay, we have a good light there, so don't recommend using NVGs, by the way, for taxiing around at night. You have your aircraft light up. You have all your aircraft light going up. Okay, you have all your aircraft lights. You have all the airfield lights. You have plenty of lights on the ground. You don't need your NVGs on the ground. However, we're going to do a fast taxi here. Thankfully, I purposely set up this aircraft so all we have to do is taxi forward and get onto the runway. Put our pilot body back on because we're not going to be really using any of the controls down there again. As you can see, now that we're out of the way from any floodlights, you can see how dark it can get in DCS. So. There we go. Showcasing a bit of the cockpit at night. So there's our runway right there. While taxiing around on the runway at night, I'll I'll probably do a full video on night operations in DCS for as a general tutorial, because it affects all other aircraft, but as a general note, you want to stick between the blue lights while taxiing, because that's your taxiway. Alright? We're just going to assume we automatically got clearance for takeoff. I'm not going to make too much of a fuss of it. Alright, there we go. Lining up. And full burner. $120, start rotating. We are relatively light, so we should get wheels off the ground fairly soon. There we go. Gear up. Burner off. There we go. Hear the thud. There we go. Radar altimeter is happy. Lights indicator is good. All right. And there we go. Now that we're out into the black night sky, so we can turn our throttle up a little bit more. There we go. All right, now it's time to show the NVGs in action. So, there we go. So now we do have, by the way, if you can, it might not show up very well on YouTube, but we do actually have a half moon today. So moon is giving some illumination at night, so we do actually are able to see the ground a little bit from the moon. However, if there was significant cloud cover, or it was a new moon, where it was entirely pitch black out here, you would basically only be seeing the night lights of Dubai up ahead. Let's see here. Let's put this aircraft into a nice steady climb first. There we go. Nice even flight. So do keep in mind that that night flying for DCS, it does depend on the moon phase and weather. If you have high, thick clouds, or if you're flying under a new moon, it would be more or less pitch black here, save for the lighting out there. So we're going to assume it's like that, and again, I set it up as the N key, but you're going to have to bind it on your own. And here we go. This is the NVGs. As you can see, you're able to see at night. You're able to see some more features than you normally would, especially if you zoom in. Now, obviously, it's the NVGs are sort of a filter DCS puts on, so it's not like it's physically modeled. So as you zoom in, it's like still going to take up the same amount of screen real space, which is okay. Also note, as the NVG moves over the cockpit, yeah, you can see the gauges kind of, but they become very fuzzy until you zoom in, and even then they're still fuzzy. Your best bet is to look off to the side, and then basically use the side of your vision to actually read your cockpit gauges. However, the HUD is unaffected by this, and the VTB is affected, but again, the HUD isn't affected by this. So you want to set the NVG gain to see. You definitely want to play up the gain. You're not gonna. No one gain setting is going to be perfect for everything. So we're gonna level out here, and we're actually gonna go ahead and fly out towards the Persian Gulf to see if we can use the NVGs to spot some islands out there in the ocean. Speed it up. There we go. There we go. And this is where getting familiar with your cockpit comes in really handy, because I know that the altitude hold button is right next to the autopilot button, so getting to know your aircraft before night flying is very important. So, okay, there we go. Let's see here. Alright, so let's zoom out there. So let's see here. There are some ships out there, and the ships have their own lights, so I can barely make out some lights out there, and I do believe there is an island out there in the Persian Gulf. So you can use your NVGs, and you can see with the gain set so low, we really can't see anything. However, if you increase the gain of your NVGs, more and more details will pop out that are fainter, and you can definitely see that island come into view now. So again, this is at the lowest setting, and you really can't see anything. But again, setting your NVG gain up by a decent bit allows you to see things that you wouldn't be able to see even with the low light from the moon. You can see it again. Now you can see again down there a little more details of that ship. See Dubai. You can see like right there. You can kind of make out the world island, that funky world island, artificial island set up there. But with the NVGs popping up, you can definitely see it nice and clear. Also, you can see one of the Palm Islands, or Palm Islands out there. But you really can't really make out that other set of Palm Islands out there. But with the NVGs, that pops up. So, I guess you can see the NVGs are a very useful tool for night flying. However, do keep in mind that, yep, if you look at any major city with the NVG gain set high enough to make out very faint objects in the distance, you will get blinded. So, NVG gain down now. So you are going to have to play with the NVG gain to make the NVG goggles useful. Also, if you want to see the effects of the NVG switch in the cockpit while you have the NVGs on, we're going to go ahead and showcase that now. So we want to turn up the gain and then turn off the switch, and you can kind of see the switches now. So it is a quick way to get the backblading off, so you're not blinded when you look down the cockpit. However, I find its use kind of dubious because I think the best way to use the NVGs and the instrument cockpit lighting is to put your NVGs off to the side and then use the sides of your vision to actually look at your instruments. Or best yet, just put your NVGs away. I would say for the majority of your night flying in the Mirage, especially if you are in the Mirage focused on an air-to-air mission, don't really worry about having the NVGs equipped or on your head and using them. If you're going to be flying air-to-air missions in the Mirage at night, focus on your instrumentation panel down here, your radar, and your HUD. Because you're going to be focused on air-to-air threats, your NVGs will not be able to pick out, your radar will pick out your threat way before your NVGs will be able to. So keep that in mind when doing air-to-air operations at night. NVGs are nice, but use your wingman's external lights, use your radars, and you'll be able to do fine just then and there. Use the NVG. Your main purpose for having the NVGs equipped on the Mirage is for night ground attack operations, as well as potentially navigating close to the ground. But again, as you can see, if we have this cloud cover here, if the cloud cover is covering the ground, then all your NVGs are going to see are the clouds. As you can see, the NVGs do not see through clouds. It's not an IR sensor; it's a visual sensor. So, to keep in mind with NVGs, there is that. Last thing I should mention with the NVGs, there are IR lasers that certain JTAC ground units can deploy, and if the JTACs do have an IR laser that they are using to point out a target, the NVGs will pick up the laser as a bright light. So do keep that in mind, that if you are using JTACs in your mission and you're flying at night, either if it's a human JTAC, you can request a laser designate. You can request an IR laser designation, and an IR laser will point from them to the target area. And I do believe, I don't know if this is going to sound weird. Depending on how the AI is set up in the mission header, they may also use an IR laser as well to designate the target. So keep that in mind. Also, buddy lasing. Buddy lasing may also have a laser indicator pop up. Depends on the aircraft and the settings within that aircraft. So, with that being all said, that's it for night flying in the Mirage 2000C. I'm going to go ahead and showcase a little bit of the aircraft. I'm going to power down the aircraft's engine a bit so it's not as loud as when we go to external view. And there's our Mirage at night. And just showing you a little bit of the Mirage at night. As you can see, we did leave our... Weirdly, the external light panel does not have backlighting, of all things. So we can just go ahead, again, left Alt L to look at our lighting, so we can go ahead and flip off the anti-collision lights. There we go. So, it's been a relatively long video, but there is quite a bit to cover in the Mirage when it comes to lighting, especially because we have to also cover... the NVGs are a little bit weird in the are different in the Mirage than in other aircraft. I do know the Hornet. I believe the Hornet and the Viper also have the option to switch between NVGs and their helmet-mounted displays. However, their NVGs, it's just you tell the ground crew to swap to the display and they just do it. Here in the Mirage, you have to actually unstow it from the box onto that little bracket off to the side, and then from that bracket, you have to then stow or unstow it onto your helmet. Alright, we're going to head south now. Or at least almost due south. Head back to Dubai. And with that, this has been Lock OS signing out from DCS World. I hope you enjoyed this night vision tutorial on this winter solstice, which is indeed the darkest, which is the day of the year with the longest night. So, until then, see you all around.